Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Troop 2020 podcast. Yesterday, we had a very special guest, which was Brian Blake. Today, we have an even more special guest. I would like to give it up for Chip Goss, everybody.
Hi.
So, in recent years, Chip has had a decent amount of run-ins with myself, but also a bunch of other kids from Troop 2020. So today, we're going to be asking about your experience with our troop. And the kids in it, especially when it comes to the Thunderbirds. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
As you were a part of the Thunderbirds for a very, very long time. So do you have anything to start out? Any stories about me, about this here Mason, or any other person you want to start off with? Just any quick stories, anything like that?
No. So anyways, all I could say is Troop 2020, exemplary kids. They always did what I asked them to. Not like the other miscreants and ne'er-do-wells that I had to work with, who made me rue the day and really wish that summer camp, yeah. But so anyways, you guys were awesome. You made my day. The reasons why I kept coming back, there's a number of you guys, but I really appreciated all the hard work that you guys did for me. You made it fun, and I appreciated that. So as far as stories, 10 plus years of summer camp, they all kind of meld together. I don't have any specific stories, but I remember you guys, and I appreciate everything that you did for the Thunderbirds. Whoop, whoop. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We appreciated you so much. I remember my second year of Thunderbirds, which was maybe 3 years ago. If you remember, it was me, Paul, Bruce. We actually started a cult around you. I don't know if you remember that. We took all of the leather circles from Handicraft. We stamped your names in them and handed them out. Kevin Susi was also part of that. And then from there, we became the Moxie cult. Those were memories.
Totally. It was great having a cult formed after me, and I still revel in those days. I didn't mention Kevin, although he's another one of those kids who is like a bad penny. He kept on showing up, but he was always there when I needed him, and I appreciate the fact that he was there. Speaking of the leather circles, or the circles that you guys made up, yeah, I kept finding those and flyers with me wearing a globe all over the place. And the one thing that I could say is just pick up after yourselves, okay? Don't leave the site a mess.
It did get a little messy at sometimes, especially those pictures. Yeah, we made a couple of them. Some of them are still hanging up 3 years. There are a lot of them, especially in the Thunderbirds campsite. So if you see them hanging up, those have been there for a very, very long time at this point.
They belong in a museum. They belong in a museum.
Oh, we have Mr. JN Radio Man has his John Fallout. Oh, wow, look at that. It says Chip and has an eagle on it.
Rob is another one of those long-standing Thunderbirds of good standing. Good kid. If you haven't been down to Apex yet, I thoroughly implore you to venture down to the air-conditioned luxury that is the advanced practical whatever program experience Apex in Cornell Lodge. It is welcomely decorated and splendidly accoutrement with Moxie, which everybody knows. Summer camp is made better with Moxie. The original Maine soft drink created in Lisbon Falls, Maine. If you haven't tried Moxie, you're probably not going to want to, but you need to. Nothing is made better than Moxie with a whoopie pie. Now, you need to find a whoopie pie. If you haven't found a whoopie pie, I can share a recipe with you.
Well, good thing we had whoopie pies for lunch today. So hopefully if a lot of you guys have some still in your pockets, maybe they're a little warm, a little melted, a nice cool Moxie might help with that.
if you're truly lucky to, you can even find Moxie whoopie pies places.
Nothing beats a Moxie whoopie pie, except for a peanut butter and chocolate chip whoopie pie. Personally, my favorite. But you wash down that peanut butter and chocolate chip whoopie pie with a Moxie.
That is, I do remember now, actually. The second year Bruce and I came back, we gave you Moxie Taffy. We spent the time, we had Moxie Taffy. How did you like that? I do remember that now.
That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. You guys made it at home, didn't you? And it was splendidly delicious, refreshing, with only a mild taste of cough syrup.
We actually got that Moxie from Libsyn Falls, Maine, because we actually went to the Moxie Festival that year. That was, we have some stories about that, very off topic to this. Maybe we'll get Bruce down here someday and we can talk about our experiences at the Moxie Fest. But Moxie is very deeply rooted in Troop 2020 and in the T-Birds.
So Moxie holds a dear place in my heart. My father was actually from Lisbon Falls, Maine, and my mother might explain why I'm the fellow that I am now. Would put Moxie in my bottle. So I was actually raised on Moxie, and it is definitely one of those tastes that is acquired. The Moxie Festival in Lisbon Falls, right off of Route 196. Unfortunately, it's gone by. Actually, I think it was last weekend, so you're too late, but you can plan on it. It's usually the third weekend of July. It's right on Route 196 in Lisbon Falls. It's in beautiful downtown Lisbon Falls. And you can, if you're so inclined, when you're there, you can do a nice hike, do some letterboxing. There's some geocaches around, so you can really make a day of it. And you can really do some nice canoeing or kayaking along the Androscoggin River, which runs through Lisbon Falls and Sabattis. And interestingly enough, in the 80s and 90s, the river was a dead river, meaning that there was nothing alive in it. But the logging companies and the conservation companies in Maine did a wonderful job with conservation and bringing it back. It's a beautiful a beautiful river for swimming, canoeing, kayaking. There's fish in there. They're getting ready to strategically pull dams out so that the Atlantic sockeyes or the Atlantic salmon can run fresh and anew. So it's a beautiful, scouting wise, it's a beautiful area and plenty of things to do up there. So if you guys want to, as troops and scouts, if you want to adventure into the north woods of Maine, not that Lisbon Falls is north at exit 93, 94, which is mile 93. It's not that far north, but it's beautiful country up there. Plenty of stuff to do. So
I remember when we were there, we stayed at a camp in Bradbury, Maine, so not too far from Libsyn. That was pretty beautiful. And we were right next to the L.L. Bean store, the L.L. Bean factory, which is a beautiful place to go and look. Because I bet a lot of everyone here has a lot of L.L. Bean gear, very New England. So, but yeah, that was a fun trip. We were only there for one day. It's a 3-day festival. Due to complications with sleeping. Interesting story, but
With the Bradbury skin.
there may or may not have been a skinwalker in the woods or a fisher cat. I say a fisher cat, two other friends say it is a skinwalker, and refused to sleep outside, wet in a Honda Fit, of which I was shoved in the back of. They also refused to lower down the windows when it was getting sweaty and hot in there, and it wasn't very fun. I maybe got 2 hours of sleep that night.
I just slept outside. Skinwalkers are lots of fun. You can challenge, just whistle at them, and they'll come over. They'll hang out with you, and play with you a little bit. Maybe kick you around. So it's a lot of fun. But however, skinwalkers, Wendigos, they're not necessarily that far south. You're going to want to think about the Allagash, the Maine wilderness, 100-mile wilderness. So I wouldn't have worried about the skinwalkers. I'd have been more worried about the fisher cat. But even that, if you're loud enough, they're not going to bother you. What? Mason, come on, share.
I've also heard that Cattywampus, if you split a Moxie with him, he'll be your friend too.
So Cattywampus and Glooskap are friends, and they're the ones that created Moxie back in 1886. So yeah, if you share the Moxie with them, you're all set. Don't worry about it.
All right. Now, I want to sort of get away from Moxie and all this because we can talk about all day with this. I want to ask you, because you are very deeply rooted in this camp, and now that your son is kind of carrying on your tradition working here, what has been your legacy here? What did you want to leave behind? What were some of your favorite memories here, and what made you stay at this camp for so long?
I couldn't find my way home. So anyways, I started coming to this camp in 1984, and it's amazing. Some of the people that you see here now, namely Hoss Haskell, he was the rifle range director back in 1984, and Andy Hoole, his father was on staff in 84. He actually took me under his wing in 87 when I was a CIT. Taught me everything he knew, how to be silly yet have a good time, and make sure that we're here for the right reason, which is the scouts, and for the scouts to learn and to really supplement their program throughout the year so that the advancement can continue, the learning can continue, and the leadership abilities are there. Now that's enough of the professional speak. What keeps me coming back here is watching you guys learn and grow up and have fun, and it's kind of neat because like I was talking about Hoss Haskell, he was here when I was a scout, he was here when I was on staff in the 80s, and scouts that my first bit in the 80s and 90s on staff are actually directing the camp now, as in Pat Boyd. Pat was one of my scouts in when I was the archery director down at the old range where Action Alley is now, and he took archery. Steve Fargo, who comes in and does the waterfront, helps out at the waterfront, he was another one. And it was funny because when I was the archery director, I had a couple of years down there, but one year I had like this I had this strong desire for the chocolatey clear ice cream. And then the next year I had strawberry shortcake was my kick. And one of the things that I like to do was, spread the wealth. I'd share some money with the kids and say, hey, why don't you go out to the trading post and grab me, grab an ice cream, and here's an ice cream for you too. So they'd go up, and that year it was strawberry shortcake. So I knew what year Steve Fargo was coming down archery range just by the fact that it was strawberry shortcake that he bought me. So these scouts who have been on staff, it's neat to watch the legacy continue from Hoss Haskell to Tim Hoole to Andy Hoole to me to Pat Boyd, and it's interesting to watch the next generation come through. Whether it's my son, whether it's you guys, whether it's Rob Reed or whomever, it's really neat to watch the legacy continue and to develop. This camp holds a special place in my heart. I do make the joke that Goss Pond was named after me. It's just a joke, but don't forget that it is named after me. It's actually named after Chauncey P. Goss, Chauncey Porter Goss, who I can actually directly find in my family genealogy. Here's a shameless plug for Genealogy Merit Badge, of which I am a counselor, so if you're interested in Genealogy Merit Badge, get in touch with me at chip.goss@scouting.org. But anyways, so I found out that Chauncey P. Goss was a direct relative of mine, just through relations, and Porter Goss was the director of the CIA under George Bush. Just kind of a neat little aside, but this camp does definitely hold a special place in my heart. 1,200 acres plus or minus of memories, of inspiration, and quiet in the off season. It's a place that I love to come to in the off season, do some hiking, some silent contemplation. And as a district executive, it's a great place to come and get some inspiration in the on season and in the off season.
And I know you've done a lot for this camp. I know you've built the Chip's cabin, obviously, or helped build it. No, there's a different Chip.
Chip's cabin next
Yeah.
door. No. So in all honesty, it's named Chip's Cabin, and I do joke that I've got a cabin named after me. The one Chip's Cabin I have is up in the Thunderbirds. The Chip's Cabin, which is across the street from, or directly across from Cornell, is named after Chip Hawes, who's a longtime scouter in Indian Trails Council. Definitely left a legacy for himself. Great scouter, he and his wife. So yeah, I do joke that I've got a cabin and a lake named after me, but I really don't. But it's good material. So yes, I do have a cabin up at the Thunderbirds, which is known as Pizza Hut. Thankfully, I got that donated from Pack 303 out of South Hadley. Pack 303, the place to be. Brian, if you're hanging around still, I'm in camp now. But Corey Briere donated that, and it was kind of just sitting out in the middle of the woods for Cub Country, being unused. So I moved it up there so I could have more of a place to live in the off year and be shielded from the screams of children.
I do remember that was the first year that cabin was used. Was the first year I was in the Thunderbirds, and I remember I think you got the permit for it to be used the day before camp or the day of camp.
It wasn't really a permit. It was begging and pleading for people to help me move that cabin up from the woods. And I'd like to thank Ranger Austin, his crew, and everyone who helped move that up there. Even though I'm not residing in it these last 2 years, it is a great asset, so much so that they built another cabin for the female leaders, and I hope that they're utilizing it and enjoying the amenities. Currently, I know that one of the things as the Thunderbird Scoutmaster, now that we have a permanent site, it was the one position in camp that, as a senior leader or as an older adult leader, we were still sleeping in tents, whereas most all the other staff, who are over 18, have a cabin and a solid bed. Plus, needing CPAP, I needed a place to keep my sleeping machine and apparatus to maintain my health. And I'm just glad that they have those now available for the leadership up there. And I mean, as far as getting the permit to use it, it was Dave Gorick who came in, put in the smoke detectors in not only my cabin but the other two cabins. So it was Dave Gorick making sure that they were safe and that they would pass muster with the fire marshal, the town fire marshal, not necessarily needing a certificate of occupation, but just needing the go-ahead to hold people in the, for sleeping. So it's a great facility. Nice to have it up there. It's a little bit of solid shelter. And the facility, the Thunderbird site, it's a great site with the cabins and the tents, the pavilion for everybody to seek under. And it's really nice to know that, 4 or 5 years ago, the Thunderbirds had to move every week or every 2 weeks, depending on camp usage. And Pat Boyd and the rest knew that it would be smart to have one single location for the Thunderbirds to always have. It's up there. It's the first site as you come in. Easy drop off, easy pickup. It is a little bit out of the way, but you're across the street from Fenway. I can't think of or Little Fenway. I can't think of a better place to be than across the street from Fenway. You're right up the road from Industrial Arts, Metal Shop, Welding. Plus, I'll tell you what, the showers in sight too. Always hot, always on, ready to go. If you're a Thunderbird and you haven't showered, it's only Tuesday. I implore you, please take a shower. Swimming in Goss Pond does not qualify as a shower. Okay? Take my advice.
That is very good advice. I was planning to take a shower today, but
About the Thunderbird years before this site, Mason, weren't you a Thunderbird before I was, and you slept at a different site, right?
I did Thunderbirds 2 weeks in a row. We did 2 different sites, but most of the kids were very badly behaved, which over time has seemed to kind of fade away for the most part in my eyes, which has been a huge development for the Thunderbirds.
Matured over the years, it would seem.
And I think that's one of the important things about having a permanent site is the stability and the predictability of where you're going. When your program is over and you know where you're going, and then like Mason, you said you were here for more than 1 week. From 1 week to the next, back 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, you didn't know where you were going to be, so it was unpredictable. Now it's nice, you're going to be there. You're not worried if, oh shoot, I left my swim trunks. Well, I can get them on Sunday when I come back. I know right where they're going to be. So that really helps with behavior and knowing that, making sure that the scouts understand that they're there as a, for a lack of a better term, a ragtag group. They're coming in from different troops, different units, different parts of the state or even different states. They're only going to, you guys are only going to be working with each other for a week, 2 weeks. In Kevin's case, 6 weeks. I love you, Kevin. You're awesome. But anyways, you're only working with each other for a couple of weeks, so that chance to form as a group and to go through the group dynamics of storming, forming, norming, performing. You only get the chance to really form, and usually halfway through you storm. That's when all the chances for behaviors and issues come up. But knowing that the stability of one leader throughout the season, one site throughout the season, really creates stability, and the leader is able to set the tone and make sure that you guys understand that you're here as a scout. You're expected to behave under the scout law and to follow the scout oath and scout law. And if you have to ask yourself, does this go against any one of those points? Chances are it doesn't, and you're already messing up. So to your point, Mason, it was a challenge, and I think those reasons in the past are mainly why it was a challenge. Did you have something else to add? Or?
I think it also just helps the kids a lot more. Before, there wasn't a lot of support for the Thunderbirds. They were kind of thrown aside. But now that you have this actual group that are there to support the kids, and not just Chip and Dawn Mary at the time, to support these kids and really help them and overlook them, it really actually gives them this support and the actual opportunities to have the same camp week as other troops and scouts.
And I honestly, I think the Thunderbirds is an amazing opportunity for the scouts, and it's really advanced. And no slight on the scouts in the past and the leaders who really worked hard to make Thunderbirds work. The Thunderbirds have really advanced and developed into a dare I say, a world-class provisional unit that really makes June Norcross Webster Scout Reservation substantial and really makes it stand aside from other camps in the region and in the country. We're blessed to have such a camp in our neighborhood, in our backyard. Not only do we have this camp, but Connecticut Rivers Council has Camp Mattatuck and Camp Workomen, two other beautiful camps. But this camp really sets the standard, and it's really interesting to see when you want to follow Scouts Life magazine on Instagram or even TikTok, and you see JN Webster being spotlighted, highlighted in that. It's really neat to see that this camp can stand in the same spotlight as like Atro Bartle, which is a huge camp, and people even mention it, as opportunities, dare I say, Philmont and National Adventure bases. So JN Webster has always been innovative. It's been directed towards the scout, and one of the things that, as getting older and knowing, being old, there's certain camps that kind of aim towards the leader, so the leader has a place to stay and relax, chill, and it's nice to see the Perry building, the recent addition. It's a beautiful building. Peter Perry was a great camp director back in the 90s. To see the Perry building being used for conferences, the trading post, the new museum, the health lodge, the health facility, state-of-the-art summer camp. I mean, the place is amazing. But to see, the leaders can hang out there, relax, and just take it easy, whether it's on the porch of the Perry building or on the porch of the dining hall. I really think that for scouts and leaders, this camp stands heads over the rest. So, Mason, do you have something else you wanted to add?
One thing I do really like about this camp, that is on Thunderbirds, and also again, 2020 podcast. I had to give some shout out to 2020 here. A lot of it has also been built by scouts. I mean, the Perry building was built on donation. I know a lot of JN Webster's revenue is taken by the national organization because they need to pay off debts and bankruptcy and stuff. But I do know, like, our troops, specifically, we've built a lot of bike racks. So we built the volleyball pit. And in our own campsite, we built a solar-powered gazebo.
Right.
And there's been other, like, a lot of bike racks, a lot of benches have been built by other troops. And I know during, like, Beaver Day, troops help set up and everything like that. So I like JN Webster for the fact that it brings the scouting community together, have these troops work to build a camp where they really want to stay and they really want to come back to. And I think, again, the Thunderbirds really do help with that. I mean, I've met a lot of really, really cool people, a lot of friends that I've really enjoyed. It's you might, when you go there, you might be like, oh man, I don't know anyone who's going, but I've met a lot of cool people. Like Rob, I met here, now he's a staff member. I've met Kevin Susi, he's a staff member. And these are all people that I really look forward to in the summer to see. I really had fun with them at Thunderbirds, and I really have fun with them now. But it's really good to see these people evolve. And I kind of want to get your opinion on just watching these individual scouts that you might have seen here, and then them growing into Eagle Scouts and their own projects in their own community, or possibly at JN Webster.
So let me just. So the revenue taken by the camp is basically. I just want to set this straight. The revenue earned at camp by the camp is an amazing. It's amazing that it's able to stay in the council and to do improvement in the camp and on the program. I really admire our three camp directors for the assets they've developed and provided for thousands and thousands of scouts, tens of thousands over the years. The settlement that you spoke of came from the endowment funds. Luckily, the Connecticut Rivers Council had a very well established endowment fund, which was basically from donations and from bequests from deceased scouts and scouters and family members. So the money that we paid into the national endowment or the national settlement came from that endowment. And we've got some amazing, our chief scout our scout executive in the council, Mark Switzer, is doing an amazing job at rebuilding the endowment. We had to make some really tough choices, especially coming out of COVID. But now we're in the rebuilding phase. We're really aiming towards Cub Scouting, and this is where I'm going to segue into your point. Our job my job as a district executive, as a scoutmaster, as a staff member alum, my job is to make sure that you scouts have an excellent opportunity, an excellent program, the chance to come to camp, the chance to earn merit badges in advance, follow the programs. My job is also to ensure that the kids who come behind you can see you and understand what you guys are doing and all the fun that you guys get to have. As your job as scouts and young adults is to encourage kids who are in Cub Scout age to seek out Cub Scouting and to join Cub Scouting. Because without the Cub Scouts, all the fun that we are having now could go away, and we don't want that to happen. Seeing these Cub Scouts grow up, having the opportunity in 2015 to direct Cub Country and see Cub Scouts down in Cub Country. 5 years later, I'm up in the Stanley Black & Decker Boyd base, or Stanley Black & Decker base camp. Really watched them grow up into Scouts, and 5 years after that, Eagle Scouts, or being invited to countless Eagle ceremonies, watching you guys grow up, go from Scout to Tenderfoot to second class, first class, Star of Life, and just watching and seeing what merit badges you're taking, seeing the work that you guys do, coming into the Order of the Arrow. The Order of the Arrow is a huge part of the success of this camp and the work that they do. But the fact that we do, you guys come in, troops come in and adopt the site and build stuff and put improvements into the site, we're not stupid. We do that by design, because when you do that, you take ownership of the camp and you take a sense of pride in that ownership, and you want to become the best stewards that you can. So you're not going to mistreat the camp. You're going to want to maintain the camp, continue to come to the camp, and in 10 or 15 years, or in a matter of years, when you have children of your own, you can come back to this camp and say, look, this is where my troop camps. This is where your troop camps. This is what our troop does. We built this pavilion, or we paid for this pavilion through hard work and fundraisers. So it's done by design, and it's great to see. I've had the opportunity to watch kids who questionable, homesick, or the banana flu down in Cub Country, who may have been questionable, develop into amazing scouts. Year after year, you just watch them advance and become amazing citizens. And I thoroughly, I believe it's because of the program, the scouting program in general, and summer camp specifically, that has enabled these scouts to do that. So, long-winded, I know.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Chip. It's been very glad.
We're very happy to have you on this on our little podcast here. Very happy. I'm glad to have a time to talk with you. Very, 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 very helpful and grateful.
Happy and grateful that you could come down here.
I know because we had your son text you last night. So sorry for the short notice. We didn't know we were going to do this until yesterday. But do you have any final words to say to the people listening?
Sure, I do. So I mentioned Cub Scouts are hugely important. You guys listening, hopefully there's more than 3 of you listening to this right now. You guys listening, Scouts, it's important to keep these ranks going. Den Chief, being a Den Chief, is a position of responsibility, and I can think of no better position to influence Cub Scouts into becoming Scouts than Den Chief. Senior Patrol Leader gets all the glory or all the hassle, but don't be afraid of asking to become a Den Chief. get your training, work with a pack, work with some Cub Scouts, and let's watch scouting grow. Thank you for inviting me. It's really no hassle. I was coming to camp tonight anyways to visit my troops, so I'll probably see you guys in a little while. But yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And just as a reminder for everybody, we will not be having a podcast tomorrow due to Lumberjack games. But
Lumberjack games, yeah!
But we will be back on Thursday.
All right, thank you very much. We will now return to our scheduled programming, and we will be starting off with American Pie.